Hey guys, it's Matt in the future. Just wanted to apologize in advance for the audio quality of the microphone in this video. The microphone got accidentally switched to noise canceling mode and I didn't notice until I went to edit the clips. Sorry about that. I hope you enjoy the video and thanks for watching. Alright, good morning guys. Slept pretty good last night. No further issues with the trailer that I could see, although I did leave the fan running all night. But nice quiet little parking lot. There was maybe 6 or 7 other vehicles parked in the parking lot when I pulled in, so I tried to be quiet when I set up. Most of them have left already for the day. Yeah, just taking a slow morning. It's only 5.5 hours to Toke from here. So yeah, just taking a slow morning, not in a huge rush. It's gonna take me longer than that because I'm gonna have to go slower. Because between Destruction Bay and the border is where the road is the worst. So we're gonna be taking it a little slower today. But I thought I'd bring you guys down here and show you the view of Kluane Lake from the southern end here. We're gonna be following this lake pretty much for the next hour or so as we go up the west side of it over there towards the north. I'm sure you guys can hear the highway noise. It's because just walking up from the beach, and here's the highway is right there, and here's where the parking lot is. So there's where I parked last night, and then this whole side of the parking lot was lined with trailers and cars. But they've all pretty much left this morning already. Alright, I'm gonna walk back to the trailer and start getting things ready for the second to last day of the trip this year. Alright, see if we see any dull sheep on this trip. It's not looking likely. Normally you can spot them right off because there are just these little white dots up there amongst the rocks and stuff. Bummer. I think I said last time I drove through here in 2023, I think I've only seen him here like once or twice in all the times that I've driven by here. So, yeah, guess we'll see on the way back later this year. We are just north of Destruction Bay in the Yukon, and we've got a construction traffic light up there. But at least it's a gorgeous place to get stuck, right? Just views for days. I'll show you guys this side too. Don't mind the dirty window. Alright guys, we're through the construction zone and north of Burwash Landing now. And this is the worst stretch of the Alaska Highway between Destruction Bay, Burwash Landing, and Beaver Creek. And it's just because the only traffic that really goes up this road is Americans going back and forth to Alaska. And the Yukon just doesn't have the money to maintain the road the way it needs to be. And the US is supposed to be helping to pay for it, but they don't. So we get to deal with a bad road. So, yep, that's why it's gonna be an interesting drive. I am doing the speed limit, which is 90 kilometers an hour, which is about 56, 57 miles an hour. And you've got impatient people that they're like, we want to do 65 miles an hour through here, so they're just flying around me. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stick doing the speed limit because I don't want to bounce my trailer apart on these roads. Yeah, anyway, we're about 2 hours away from Beaver Creek, and then the border is not much further past that. So if we see anything interesting, I'll try and show you guys. I did see my first grizzly bear. Didn't have a chance to get the camera out because we came up on it really quick, but there was a big light colored grizzly bear off to the left side of the road. So I don't think I've ever seen a grizz on the Alaska highway before, so that was kind of fun. I've seen plenty of black bears, like I've seen 5 black bears on the trip so far, but I think that's my first ever grizzly bear on the Alaska highway. So that was really cool. Anyway, we'll watch these guys go around me, and then we'll dodge this road damage up here. Whoa. And here's what I'm talking about with the roads. Fortunately, now I've got this Harry Glenn trailer in front of me, so I can watch him bounce around and see where all the bounces are. All right, talk to you guys in a bit. Just got done at a rest stop. Stuck my head in the trailer to make sure everything is still good. We're not going to have a repeat of yesterday's adventure. We're getting back on the highway. Unfortunately, I lost my pilot RVs that were in front of me, so now I'm not going to get a heads up of where the bounces are. So it's going to be a fun adventure. All right, here's the permafrost pipes. So they do this to try and keep the permafrost from freezing, or from thawing, excuse me. Yeah, they've had stuff like this along the highway for as long as I can remember. Anyway, been following these two travel trailers here for a while, but we're about 30 kilometers from Beaver Creek, so I'm not gonna go around them. They're going fast enough, and I get to watch them hit the bumps so I know where they're at. Here's some more permafrost venting. See the little black pipes down there, but then they've also got this going on up here. I remember back when I drove tour buses. I never drove the tours that came down the Alaska highway this far, because there was a land tour option that would go down to Skagway. But I took the familiarization tour a couple of times, and I remember the tour, at least the tour information, would talk about how that was an experimental area right there, where they're experimenting with different ways of trying to keep the road from heaving by keeping the permafrost frozen, instead of or keeping the ground frozen instead of letting it freeze and thaw every spring and fall. Kind of interesting. Then we're 5 minutes away from Beaver Creek, which is our next stop for fuel, and then we'll be pushing on towards the border. All right, this is the Beaver Creek airstrip. A couple times I had to pull in here for Holland America when the Taylor Highway, couldn't go up the Taylor Highway because of the floods in Eagle in 2009. So we pulled in here and dropped folks off at a charter. And here's the border. Well, the border crossing on the Canadian side anyway. I'll put the camera down while I go around it. All right, around the Canadian border services. We're not at the border yet. The actual border is up here in a few miles. And so we'll pull in there and show you guys the border sign once again, just like I did 2 years ago. And this time I'm going to remember to flip my car back over to freedom units at the border sign instead of driving in kilometers still through the border and then having to wait for like half an hour to find a place to flip it back to miles per hour. Alright guys, we're at the border. It's pretty busy right now. I did get a photo of the truck and trailer by the sign, which was pretty nice. The sign, don't bring in plants you're not supposed to. Information about Alaska. You guys can pause to read these signs if you want. So here's the international boundary marker. Right there, United States on the right, Canada on the left. As you can see, they actually keep the border clear of trees. If you look on Google Maps, it literally they've cleared all the trees along the entire border. And it goes that way too. So you can look on, like I said, you can look on Google Maps and see the line of the border all the way up Alaska. And here's information about the Yukon, which we'll be going back through in a few months. Drive wasn't too horribly bad today. There was some bad parts, but I've heard that the Alaska side is actually worse this year, so we'll see if that's true or not. Look over here, you can see the Yukon sign. Over there. Got a handy bench so you can kiss across the border if you want. And the old Alaska sign. All right, still got a few hours to get to Tok, so I'm gonna get back on the road. All right, fam, border crossing went fairly painlessly. They are inspecting RVs that go across the border. They're looking for certain agricultural products that may have originated in Canada. Specifically, they're looking for eggs and egg products and chicken that might have bird flu. So, fortunately, everything that I had was already pre-cooked or didn't have chicken in it, and so they let me on through. The ag inspector was fairly accommodating, so. Anyway, we're back in the US. I flipped my car back over 2 miles per hour, which is awesome. And now we get the long, bumpy, slow drive into Tok, because this part of the Alaska Highway also, it may look nice, but it's you got to go slow because it is definitely kind of bumpy. So we're about well, as the speed limit goes, we're an hour and 45 minutes away from Tok, but it's probably going to take closer to 2 to 2.5 hours to get there, just because of the condition of the road this section of the highway normally is in. All right, good morning, fam. It is the morning of the last day of the trip up to Alaska for this year. Slept last night in Tok, at the Sourdough campground, and then had to drive back into town to get gas. But now I'm headed south on the Toke Cutoff Highway again. Well, I'm about to turn onto it actually. And yep, ready for the last day. There's the old Westmark again, where I used to stay for hauling. It's now employee housing for the Kinross mine that's in the area. So yeah, happy to be in Alaska, happy to be on the last day so I can set up my trailer and get it all situated for more than just one night. I'm looking forward to that for sure, just parking it up and staying in one spot for a week to recharge and kind of get settled in and figure out where I'm gonna go and maybe what land I'm gonna be buying. Want to get that done ASAP so that I can have just my own spot. So we'll see what happens. But we've got about a 5-hour drive, not including stops, to get to the Springer campground in Palmer, which is where I'm going to be staying for the next week. It is currently 73 degrees outside, a little toasty, and it's also smoky because all that wildfire smoke from Canada is blowing into Alaska now. So it's a little unfortunate. The views aren't going to be quite as nice as they usually are. Yeah, sorry I didn't show you guys any of the campground either. It's the Sourdough campground in Toke. It was pretty rustic. I liked it. It felt very Alaskan. And power worked great. I had a power and water side. I didn't hook up the water because I'm only carrying about 6 or 5 gallons of water at a time, maybe 10. Less than a third of a tank of fresh water in my water tank while I'm driving. So, and there was bathrooms and showers there. So I took a long needed shower last night, and then, yeah, just used their bathrooms. So I haven't needed to dump the tanks yet because both my gray water and my black tanks are still below a third. So I'll probably dump the tanks before I leave the Springer. My campground, or my site at the Springer, also does not have dump. It is just electric, and it might have power. I'd have to check my notes. Or sorry, it might have water, but I'd have to check my notes. I can't remember for sure. But yeah, I didn't film any of the campground because the sites are pretty close together and there was a lot of people there. And I'm still not super comfortable filming for YouTube around a ton of people. So, yep, sorry I didn't get any footage of the campground again for you. But if you ever want to check it out, you can just look it up online. It was a pretty nice campground. I liked it. And I actually, even though my site was kind of sandwiched in between some trees, my Starlink, for the most part, had pretty decent service. So I used that instead of the campground Wi-Fi. Because being an IT security guy, I don't like using the campground Wi-Fi unless I have to. I just don't trust it. Or the people that are using it, I should say. Anyway, still on the Toke Cutoff Highway. We're a few miles south of Toke. I just wanted to pick up the camera and tell you guys about the campground and say sorry for not having any footage of it. Yeah, let's see what the day brings. Alright guys, it's a little windy and a little hazy, like I said, from the wildfire smoke coming in from Canada, but this is an overlook of Wrangell St. Elias National Park, which heads that direction. It's a pretty spectacular view here normally. We got a little information sign here about an expedition that explored this area. The other fun thing that happened is I stopped about 30 minutes ago to get out and stretch and take another photo. And as I was out and about or climbing back in, a bug attached itself to my shirt. And when I put my arm down next to my shirt, it stung me or bit me or something. So now I've got a huge welt on my arm. That felt really, really pleasant. You can see here there's a bunch of bugs and stuff, flies and things all around my truck. So I'm gonna try and hop back in. I'm gonna grab my bug zapper real quick too. All right, safely back in the truck, and I only had to zap a couple of really huge flies before I got in. Not getting bit on my arm again. I'll post a photo right here of the bug bite. Feel free to look away if you're slightly squeamish about such stuff. Fortunately, it doesn't hurt now. It's just annoying, just a little bit of like residual, like, ow, something bit me type feeling, but wasn't even as bad as getting the last time I got stung by a wasp. So, not sure what it was, but it got me good. That's just part of being up here, I guess. All right, we're about 55 miles until we turn on the highway to head to Glen Allen, and then we will be turning back west to head down the canyon towards Palmer. All right, Alaska, we need to have a little chat about just how warm it is. It's not supposed to be this hot. It said 79 just a minute ago, and I don't like it. I don't like it. It's supposed to be cool. Fortunately, according to the weather, it's supposed to be cold and rainy for like the next week, starting in a couple days. So, at least down in Willow. Well, still on Palmer down in the valley. But up here, I just turned on to the Richardson Highway. We're headed towards Glen Allen. It is too hot. All right, guys, we're just getting into Glen Allen, and I'm gonna get gas at the most expensive gas station in this part of Alaska. It's just so expensive here for some reason, but it's the only spot. So gonna get gas and then head on down towards Palmer. Oh, that would be why it's so smoky over here right now. There is a big forest fire over there. I'll have to check on the state website about forest fires once I get stopped next to see what's going on with that. That's unfortunate. Fortunately, like I said, there's supposed to be a bunch of weather blowing in for the next week, so hopefully that'll help suppress this fire once that weather is here. So there's that fire over there still, but we're pretty much at the very top of the Glen Highway here. And then we're gonna start going downhill from now on until we drop down into the valley. I would not mind owning a piece of property up here someday. It's very open right off the highway, but you can see from these snowplow markers on the side of the road that they get a lot of snow up here. So maybe just a summertime only thing. We're only an hour and a half from town, so just far away enough up here to get away from town, but you're still close enough. So it might be fun someday. We'll see. Gotta buy property somewhere else first. Pulled off into this pullout. Thought I'd show you guys the hazy view because of this wildfire over here. There's that fire from earlier. It's a nice little pullout with a gorgeous view of the Alaskan mountains. It's the Chugach mountain range, I think, right here. There's a little plaque. I've stopped at this viewpoint before, but I don't remember what this plaque is about, so let's go check it out. It's a memorial plaque about a state trooper that was killed in 1997. Couldn't ask for a better view for a memorial. And just look at it up there. The whole drive down the Glen Highway is just spectacular. It's a super bummer that it's so hazy today, but it's just a spectacular drive. See here, truck and trailer are pretty dirty. Everything's running well so far, although I'm increasingly of the opinion that this Tundra is not going to be long for my life after this trip, because it's just not, it's doing the job, it's just not doing it in the way that I would like. And I want to be able to haul more stuff with me is the big thing. So, and that's the limitation of a Tundra. I think I've talked about it before. It's a fantastic half-ton pickup, but its limited payload capacity is its major failing point. So right now, we'll see how I feel at the end of the summer, but right now I'm thinking that this truck is not going to remain in my life after this trip. Camera is not going to do this justice, guys. The mountain just looms over this part of the Glen Highway, and it is spectacular in person. Meanwhile, stuck in some traffic, going slow down the Glen. All right, guys, just a quick update. I got to the Springer campground in Palmer. Okay, got everything parked. Got the trailer leveled out, got the power plugged in, and then I went to go find my tablet that I use to control my Victron power system in the trailer, and I can't find the tablet anywhere. I think what happened is I had pulled off on the cutoff highway to check the propane levels, because I wanted to see if, make sure the fridge was still running and it hadn't run out of propane and stuff. And there was the tablet was having an issue reading the propane properly, so I went back to check, and I had the tablet with me, and I think what happened is I put it on the bumper of the truck while I was taking the cover off of the propane tanks. And so I think that my little Android tablet that I was using for that is on the side of the cutoff highway somewhere. And I looked back through my InReach tracker, and where I think that I pulled off to do that check is 3 hours away. So I'm not doing a 6-hour round trip to go look for this tablet. And I need it to control, the problem is I need it to control the Victron inverter. I need it to set the charge level So to say how much power it can draw from the pedestal, the power pedestal at the campground. But I also need it just to turn it off and on in general. It does have a manual switch, but it's a pain to get to. And yeah, I need this this tablet to get everything hooked up properly. So here I am in the car making a 45-minute trip from Palmer down to Anchorage to Best Buy to buy their cheapest Android tablet that they have. Because this app that I need, you can't just load on any device. It's a kiosk app. So like if you go to your doctor's office or your barber shop or whatever, and they have a little like check-in tablet, whether it's an Android or an iPad or whatever, those are generally running kiosk apps. They're like special apps. And that's all that runs on the tablet. It's just that kiosk app. But anyway, I need this Victron app as a kiosk app, and so I need an Android device in order to load the kiosk app on it. So here we are, headed into Anchorage to the Best Buy to buy $200 worth of tablet to run my power system on the trailer. I was so careful with that tablet until today, and I just was not paying attention. So lessons learned there, and it's going to cost me $200 and change to rectify my mistake. Because even if I drove back the 3 hours, even if I could find the tablet, I doubt that it's going to be in any usable condition anymore. So I decided, rather than a 6-hour round trip, spending all the gas to go that far, I'll just run into Anchorage and buy a replacement. So that's what's going on tonight. I'll let you know how it goes. All right, I lost the audio for these next couple of clips, so I'll give you a little voiceover here. I was just giving a little tour of the trailer, how I had it set up. You can see my Starlink up there on the ladder. This was actually my second site here at the Springer. The first few days I was around the corner, basically straight in front of where the trailer is now, and pointed off to the right. But that's where I was the first few days, and this was just my site for the final day that I was there. So both sites had electricity and water. This site happened to have a dump station as well. And I'm just showing you the rest of the campground. There was a big travel group that pulled in with all of those Class A RVs, so that was kind of fun. But just kind of giving you a look at the campground here. We are right next to this field, and straight out from where the camera is right now is actually the Palmer Airport. So we had planes taking off all the time. So this was it, the camping spot for the final night at the Springer. It's a little bit cloudy and grumpy today, but I thought I would walk up here and show you guys the view from the campground. This is the office and the showers and laundry. Let's walk out here towards the highway. Weather's been super nice this week. Check it out over there. You've got all this open field, just mountain views on 3 sides. Gorgeous. So this campground is right at the southern end of the Palmer Airport. You can see the airport just across this field and across the road, and the runway's just right there. So you get planes taking off over us all day here. And in fact, there's been a bunch of firefighting planes taking off and on, some retardant drop planes and stuff. And one of them is a little 4-engine jet. And you can definitely hear that thing when it takes off. Here comes another plane right now. So anyway, like I was saying, there's been some fire retardant planes taken off from here as they go fight a wildfire that's just up the Glen Highway to the east. And that jet, you can really hear when it takes off. It's by far the loudest thing that's taken off out of here. Give you guys a quick look at the inside of the camper now that it's been lived in for 2 weeks. Still figuring out where I want things to be kept and located, and just what stuff I do need and I don't need. You can see got my little desk set up there. Loving my new mattress that I put in the trailer before I left. And then I haven't really cooked anything in here yet. I've just been mostly reheating things. I've used the convection microwave quite a bit actually, and I have yet to cook anything on the stove. Sorry if the fan was a little loud in the last clip. Yeah, that's just a quick little update of the Springer campground here. Tomorrow I'm actually going to be moving to my friend Bill at My Alaska to his property. He's graciously going to let me stay on his property indefinitely until I can find my own property to buy up here just to park my trailer on. So appreciate him for that, and we'll be moving over there tomorrow. So I'll bring you guys along for that process. All right, guys, I was editing the video and realized that I didn't really film anything for the end of that video. So you are going to get a sneak peek at some upcoming content at the end of this Alaska highway journey. So thanks for coming along for the ride. It was an epic trip up the Alaska highway this year. Looking forward to making the trip back. In fact, a week from the day that I am filming this outro, I will be leaving Alaska to head back south down the Alaska highway. So this is the end of the season up here for me this year. Looking forward to making the drive back. And probably what I'll do on the way back is I'll still film it, but I'll just make one supercut, kind of like I did when I drove home 2 years ago, or when I drove back to Utah 2 years ago. I just made one long video about the whole drive back rather than splitting it up like I do the trip up. So be looking forward to that, and also be looking forward to some more content coming about a few adventures I did up here in Alaska, and then this piece of property that I am standing on right now. So thanks very much for watching and coming along. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to share it with all of your friends. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we will catch you guys in the next one.